All right, let's see if we get back like normal. All right. Twitter is back. YouTube is back. Facebook is still not connecting. And now Twitch is not connecting. Okay, Twitch is back. Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, but Facebook is still not connecting. How interesting. How interesting. Well, um, okay, I don't see the glitching. All right. I am back. I'm not on Facebook apparently still. I don't know what's going on with that. I don't know what's going on with that, but I don't see the glitching that was happening. That's not happening. Look, these things happen when you live stream every once in a while. You end up with some sort of technical difficulties. Every once in a while, you end up with some sort of technical difficulties. I don't know what's going on. I'm doing everything on my part to yeah, I'm doing everything on my part to make it happen the way it's supposed to happen. But it's just not connecting to Facebook. And as it sits right now, there's not much I can do about it. I know everything is correct on my side. So that just is what it is. That just is what it is. But good afternoon. Yeah, seems like the glitch is no longer happening, which is a good thing. Which is a good thing. Thank you. Thank you. Um, and good afternoon. Good afternoon. Good afternoon to all of the people. Purple Rain, good afternoon to you. I don't I'm saying y'all know I'm vexed. See, y'all don't know this about me. I got a little slight hint in certain areas. I'm I'm like a perfectionist, only slightly different. I'm like a perfectionist, only slightly different. Um, hold on, let me see if I try something. Okay, let me try that. Let's go back here and do this. Then let's go here. I hope this does not turn this on. Hold on. If I go here, okay, do that. Oh, well. Hey, look, I guess it is what it is. It is what it is. Maybe they won't let me get with Facebook today. It doesn't make sense why they won't, but apparently they won't. Um, there were a few stories that I saw, but of course, I got to talk about Ukraine for just a minute. Apparently, Russia is they have some missiles that they're shooting that we didn't know about. They're firing missiles, and those missiles are evading the oh, what do you call it? Ah, I hate this. I hate that my brain can't grab on the words. And I legit just read this story about these missiles. Um, they have these ballistics missiles and air defense, and they're tricking. See, there goes the glitching again. And they're tricking air defense system over there. Thank you, because I don't know. Uh, yeah, I see that. I don't know what is going on. I don't know what's going on, but there's definitely something going on. Let's do this. Let's do that. See, did that help? That did not help. There is something going on here today, then, and I don't normally have these types of issues. I don't normally have these types of issues. I'm on here on a regular basis, pretty much problem free, and then just out of nowhere, the thing want to act up. Out of nowhere. Let me see. Closing stuff, closing that. Go back here. Okay, let's see if that stopped it. See if that stopped it. And then hit that. So that looks like maybe it stopped the glitches. It didn't help with Facebook, but it definitely stopped the glitches. Excuse me. So yeah, they got these missiles that are evading the air defense system. They can't co-opt you, so they might just drop you. But we'll find you. Brent checking in. Thank you, Brent, for finding me. I appreciate y'all. I appreciate y'all finding me. Oh, I guess since I'm here, I'll get back to that. Hold on, I'll get back to that. But I guess since I'm here, let me explain what's going on with the identity thing. Now I never filed for like unemployment when Radio One terminated me, and it was what it was. But then somebody said, go ahead, file for that unemployment. You worked there for 20 something years, you might as well. So I went to file, and of course somebody had already filed. I already told y'all that somebody had already filed. So I called in to I guess the Ohio unemployment whatever, and I thought it would be fairly simple. I'll file, or I'll let them know that that wasn't me. I'll have to do some stuff, and then but man, they've been making me jump through hoops. So finally, yesterday, I get on the line with a young lady. She sounded like a young Caucasian lady. Almost everybody I've been talking to up to now has been, you can kind of tell by a person's voice. You can kind of tell. But they've been black women. They've been black women. I think I talked to one man at one point earlier on. But so I got up with this Caucasian woman, and this Caucasian woman was disgusted, not with me. She was disgusted with Radio One for letting me go. And she don't even know me. She was disgusted with all of the other people that I had talked to, because she was saying, there is no reason for you to be going through all of this. This should have been taken care of the first time you called. Excuse me. So this should have been taken care of the first time you called. All they had to do, and she just kept having to stop herself. Geez, why would they do that? And she's like, this is just ridiculous that they're taking you through all of this, because they can do what it is that they're trying to do. They can do what it is that they're trying to do, which is basically stop that other claim that hasn't been approved. They can stop that, have me send them, I guess, documents to verify who I am. So they can have me do that. And she gave me this little, I call it quiz. This little quiz. Y'all know how they do. Like, which of these cars have you owned in the past? And they ramble off like 6 cars. And they say, if you've owned one of those, say it. And if you've owned none of those, say it. And So she ran off this little test, like how many of these or which of these cars have you owned in the past? Which of these jobs have you worked at in the past? Which of this and which of that? Just a whole lot of little questions to kind of narrow it down to make sure, I guess, that I am who I say that I am. And then she kind of laid it out to me. Now, if you say the white lady fixed everything and the black people messed stuff up, I'm not saying anybody messed anything up. I'm just saying white lady was a team king of talk. She was on my team. Like she hit me with the quiz. She she got all my information. So basically, she did an application yesterday. She sent me all of the information that I need to send them and the multiple ways that I can send it to them. She oh, there goes the glitching again. She did everything. So I'm good to go now. I need to send them some documents, but like she could not understand for the life of her. Oh, there goes that glitching again. Y'all don't understand. This is irritating me more than y'all know because I do this semi regularly, and I'm on when I'm supposed to be on. When I'm trying to be on, I'm on when I'm supposed to be on, and I don't have these type of difficulties. I haven't changed anything. So there is something technical going on. I even restarted the computer and everything. Oh, y'all don't know how frustrating this is. But yeah, shit, the white lady got me together. And she kept saying, why are they doing? Because I'm sure they can see the notes and all of that stuff. And she's like, there was no need for them to do that. They could have just, well, why would they do that? They could have just, but then, like I said, hour or so later, yeah, I was on the phone with that lady for like an hour. But an hour or so later, that young lady, I want to say her name because I know I wrote her name down. Yeah, I wrote her name down, but I ain't gonna say her name because I don't want her to get in no trouble. I don't want to get in no trouble for helping me out, for doing her job. Because in my mind, she could get in trouble just for doing her job. In my mind, she could get in trouble just for doing her job. But yeah, she hooked me up yesterday. So I'll have to deal with them just maybe a couple more times before they either say, yeah, you can get this unemployment, or no, you can't get this unemployment. But you gotta do what you gotta do, I guess. And it's a shame. Because like I said, I done called them a number of times. It's been more than 4 times, more than 5 times. Every time it was a sister. I don't want to bash the sisters because they just doing their job, or something akin to doing that. I'm sure they got rules, they got things laid out, and they've been told this is the way it's supposed to be done. And so that's what they're doing. That's what they're doing. Whereas sometimes I'm just being honest. Sometimes if you are a person of privilege, you can do things where you're not worried about that lady that I talked to yesterday. She wasn't worried about getting in trouble. She's pretty confident in her position. She's confident that she can do whatever it is that she needs to do whatever it is that needs to be done. And that she can either justify it or everything gonna be all right. And I understand the sisters is probably like, look, I might want to help the brother out, but I'm not losing my job. The rules say that this is what I'm supposed to do. So this is what I'm gonna do. I understand that. So uh Emmanuel, no more talking about scrapes. I'm still scarred from Friday. I ain't said nothing about scrapes. I ain't said nothing about scrapes. Uh yeah, there is something going on. There is something going on. But yes, I'm not, I don't want to bash the sisters that wasn't all that helpful. But I am thankful that I got the Caucasian lady who was comfortable just doing what needed to be done to handle the situation. So that's why I wasn't here yesterday. That's why I couldn't make it on. Because you got to get stuff like that taken care of. Because the last thing that I wanted to have happen was next year, this time, me get I know it's not a 1099, but they'll send you some form. Me get some form, them talking about I owe taxes. Do I have 2 YouTube channels? Um, Actually, I think I do. I think I have 2 YouTube channels. Um, I think I had one from a long time ago, and then I have this one. So I think I do have. File unemployment. Thank you, Phyllis. But that was what the whole story was about. I did. I finally did yesterday. I finally was allowed to, but someone had already filed on my behalf. Someone had already filed on my behalf. J. Rose says, so the white woman saved you. Yeah, the white woman hooked me up this time. This time the white woman hooked me up. When she was like, she said, okay, well, when did you start working? And I said, I don't know the day, but it was like in November of 2000. She said, and when was your last day? And I said, February 18th. And she was like, well, what was the reason for termination? I said, well, because I'm not vaccinated. And she was heated. Like, I don't know if that means she's a Trump supporter or what, but she was like, that should be illegal. That's ridiculous. How dare they? How dare they? You've worked there 20 years. I was thinking, you want a job as my spokesperson? Like, she was heated. That shouldn't be legal. They shouldn't be able to do that. They should not. She was going in. She was like, we're going to get this taken care of today. And I was like, all right. All right. I got the power of white indignation on my side. I don't know that I've ever had the power of white indignation on my side. But she was like, we're going to get this taken care of today. And then she was looking through and why would they do that? After all you've been through, they should have just did, we're going to take care of this right now. I was like, all right, white lady. Yeah, let's take care of this right now. Thank you. And then afterwards, we can go and tell on some black people. I'm feeling part of the family now. We can go tell on some black people. Where do I meet you? Find some bird watchers and say, I fear for my life. You tell me, because you know what I'm saying? We are together now. No, I wouldn't have told on no black people. I wouldn't have told on no black people. But yeah, she hooked me up. She hooked me up. And again, I don't know if anybody else could have done it, but why was she acting like this was news with all the folks that's been terminated due to non-vaccination? It's not like she was saying how she is just like super offended by it, and she thinks it shouldn't be legal, and she thinks it's unfair. And she did bring up a whole lot of workers in New York. And I'm like, really? You following it like that? But she brought up a whole lot of workers in New York She brought up workers in the medical field and that they keep doing this to people and they shouldn't be allowed to do it. She was heated. She was heated. And I was with her. Uh, did she slide you a note or she just told you? Huh? No, we was on the phone. We were on the phone. I was really calling to find out, could I drive? Could I could I drive to Columbus or wherever they are to drop off these documents? Because they kept saying, "Oh, just send these documents via email." I'm like, hold on, just so I understand what y'all saying, and so y'all can see my position. Somebody tried to steal my identity. Um, Apparently they had my social security number, but that and my first name. They gave the wrong last name, but they gave my social security number and my first name and a wrong last name. And that was apparently all the right information that they had. But that was enough to open up a file. And in order to prove that that's not me, there are some sensitive documents that you guys want, which I'm comfortable because y'all already know this stuff anyway. Y'all the government. So y'all already know this stuff. So I'm comfortable giving y'all the information that y'all asking for. But you just want me to send it via a regular email? This ain't encrypted. You want me to send all of this sensitive information to you via just regular email. I'm not comfortable doing that. I'm not comfortable doing that. Somebody intercepts that email and now they got everything. Now they got everything. So yeah, no, I don't want to do that. But I'll bring these documents to you if that's what you'd like. I'll bring them to you. I'll drive to Columbus and drop these documents off to you. Right. Be discreet. I would drive here and I'll drive to Columbus and I would drop the documents off to you in person. And they were like, well, no, can't do that. There's really nowhere for you to bring them. I'm like, where are you? I bring them to you. She's like, well, I'm not the person who's supposed to get them. Then how am I? I'm not sending these documents just via my Yahoo email. That's not happening. So she was like, okay, well, there is a more secure way to send them. And so she gave me that information, which nobody else would give me. I'm telling you, this young lady hooked me up. She hooked me up. And I wasn't, using my white voice. I don't have a good white voice. So I wasn't using my white voice. I was using just this voice. So, but she hooked me up. She hooked me up. And like I said, I was ready. I was just about ready to, go on ahead and start telling on some of y'all about some stuff. If that's the kind of service you get as a part of the family, I'd have told on y'all. I'd have told on y'all. Someone said, F the buzz. They sell us out all the time. Have you heard the church music? I don't know that they selling you out. I don't know that they selling you out. They're filling that spot. Now, if I were there, if I were there and it were my call, which, if I were there and it were my call, first, I would put Raven in that spot. But they're not going to do that, apparently. Sadly, they're not going to do that, apparently. But what I would do if the decision was made, well, we're not going to put Raven in there, what I would do is I would move Al Sharpton to 1:00, which I believe is when he comes on anyway. So I would move him to 1:00 live. So it would be Lincoln 10-1, Al Sharpton 1-4. And then if I just had to play music, the music would start at 4 o'clock. But I would keep that whole 10 to 4 would be live talk. Then I would do the music from what, 4 to 6, I guess, 4 to 7. And then do the replay, Lincoln, Al Sharpton. If I were there, that's what I would do. Because then at least you get an additional live show. You get an additional, like right now, Sharpton is tape delayed. The last hour overlaps, hold on, our first, with their first hour when they're broadcasting, Sharpton overlaps with his last hour of live. So he's on until 4 live. So that's where people can kind of know what he's talking about and call it. But if I were there and I were making those decisions and I was not gonna put Miss Monday in there, I would definitely move Al Sharpton to 1 o'clock. So at least people can listen to him live and can call in and interact with him live. But that's just me. That's what I would do. That's the call I would make. But who am I? Who am I? Stop giving them ideas. I'm just saying. I'm just saying it's what I would do. I'm fairly certain they're not watching. They didn't watch when I was there. They didn't watch and or listen when I was there doing the show live. I told y'all, the people would come in like, what are you doing? I'm doing a show. You do a show. So they trust they're not watching or listening now. Maybe Lincoln tunes in every once in a while, and Miss Monday tunes in probably when she can. But yeah, no, they're not. The powers that be, they're not listening. Let's see. Renita says it took a minute for me to get on. All right. But thank you for getting on. Again, I apologize to everybody who normally watches on Facebook, but something is going on with Facebook, and it's creating a situation where I cannot be on there. It's acting up. I'm sorry, I'm looking for something because I had a few things. Oh, Daryl says, I don't like watching from YouTube. Daryl, it's not on me. Well, I mean, I guess it kind of is, but it's not my choice. There are some technical difficulties. Something's going on with the service connecting to Facebook. For whatever reason, it won't allow me to connect to Facebook. And again, I do this on a semi-regular basis. I want to say I do it on a regular basis, but y'all know how that go, like yesterday. But I do this on a semi-regular basis, and I'm normally on all the platforms relatively flawlessly. But today, there are some issues going on. So it's not by my design or by my choice. I would love to be on all of the platforms. And it's not even just that. Every once in a while, I see this glitching going on the screen. And yeah, it frustrates me. Maybe it is the Russians. The Russians hacked me. I don't know. Well, I mean, I'm not necessarily pro the Russians. I'm not necessarily pro the Russians. So they might have hacked me. Tanika, how you doing? Tracy, how you doing? I'm sorry, TC. I believe that's TC. I don't want to use your government name, even though it's there. Sean, why y'all believe Russia? Why y'all think Russia's against me? I was looking at this thing, kind of staying on that whole theme of the vaccine. For those of you who just tuned in, who are just now finding me, I was talking about the vaccine. Pfizer CEO says it's time for a fourth booster. He says it's time for a fourth dose. And it starts glitching every time I start talking about the vaccine. Even when I say the V word, it starts glitching. Maybe I won't talk about the V. Even saying the V word makes it glitch. Okay, let me see. Let me figure out something else. I got a few other things that I do want to that I have on here that I want to talk about. The woman whose rape DNA led to her arrest. Yeah, there's a woman in oh, see now this is acting up. Hold on, hold on, y'all. I think it might be something happening on my end. Might be something happening on my end. 'Cause a lot of my electronic stuff is acting up. Woman whose rape DNA led to her arrest to sue San Francisco. I gotta know y'all thoughts on this. I gotta know y'all thoughts on this. So hold on, let me hit y'all with the story real quick. If you were not aware of this story, if you were not aware of this story, there's an unnamed woman because you know they don't name rape victims in San Francisco, um, who feels betrayed by San Francisco police officers. She says they broke her trust and violated her rights. Um, uh, she apparently had been sexually assaulted at some point. The woman whose DNA from a sexual assault case was used by San Francisco police to arrest her in an unrelated property crime. So apparently, at some point, she had been sexually assaulted. She went and, I guess they did a rape kit, is what we commonly call it. So they had her DNA, and then there was this crime. A crime happened. Well, apparently, they took the DNA from the rape case and put it into, I guess, their database. Because you have DNA in some database right now. There's no part of me that believes that you don't, but I get into that in a little bit. They took her DNA from her rape kit and put it into the database. Well, not too long after that, there was a crime. And in 2021, is when this particular crime happened, but her rape happened in 2016. So in 2016, she was raped. She went got a rape kit. They put that in their DNA database. In 2021, there was a crime committed, and they did what they normally do. I guess swab for DNA. They got some DNA. They ran it through their database. Well, it came up. She was the one who committed the crime. She was the one who committed the crime. And what she's mad about is, but they caught me based on my rape DNA. But they caught me based on my rape DNA. And so she's mad about it. And I gotta know, are they out of line? I know some of y'all gonna say they're out of line for doing that, but don't you believe that every time, or maybe don't you ain't the right, you gotta believe, you should function under the premise that every time some agent of the government or some agent in association with the government collects your DNA, it goes into a database. You got to believe that. If you've been swabbed for the coronavirus, that's, they do it up your nose. If you've been swabbed for the coronavirus and it went to any sort of health department, which you have to assume that it did, I got to believe my DNA is in a database. Why would I believe anything different? Anytime any agency collects my DNA, I automatically assume this is going into some DNA database. They got my DNA on file. That's what I automatically assume. That's the premise that I function under. Now, y'all know I've been swabbed so many times, they ain't even putting it in the database no more. They're like, hey, we got some DNA there. We got enough of that DNA. We don't need no more of his DNA. We good. We got enough of his DNA. But and then you're running around committing crimes. But apparently, the commission out there, uh, they dropped the charges against her. They dropped the charges against her, and now she's gonna sue. Now she's gonna sue. Now, California allows local law enforcement crime labs to operate their own forensic databases. And a number of those agencies were doing things like this, which I guess is frowned upon. You don't get DNA from a rape and then put that into the database. But again, it seems weird to me. It seems weird to me. Some law enforcement agencies were not just putting it into just a regular database. They were putting it into their crime victims database, which is still a database. But then when they would run into some sort of crime, they were running all of their DNA through the regular database and through the crime victims database, which apparently is a no-no. Apparently it's a no-no to run your stuff through the crime victims database. Because I guess what the thought there is, if you're a crime victim, then you could never be suspected of actually committing a crime. Like this doesn't make sense to me. I don't have a problem, and I'm sorry, for the ladies who might have an issue with me not having an issue, but I don't have a problem with the police or law enforcement using the crime victim database to run DNA through to figure out who committed a crime. I don't have a problem with it. Again, like I said, I already function under the premise that whatever happens, my DNA, they've already got it on file. And that I just better not commit no crimes. Because if I commit a crime and drop a piece of hair, if I commit a crime and, do some spitting at the crime scene or, whatever, I'm going to get caught. Because they're going to be knocking on my door or, whatever they do, like, hey, bro, we found your DNA at a crime scene. Is this something that somebody should be able to sue for? Is this something that somebody should be able to sue for? Her lawyer says this was a slap in the face because, of course, they won't make her available. This was a slap in the face. It's just unbelievable. I'm still having a hard time wrapping my head around this right now. She feels like she was violated again after finding out the DNA collected as part of her sexual abuse case has been used against her. Maybe they need to add something to, all that stuff they read you. They need to read you something anytime they take your DNA. Like, this DNA can and will be used against you in a court of law. You know what I'm saying? You have the right to refuse to submit it. Like, it sounds like a horrible thing, but if you're a victim of some assault, then before they collect the DNA, they say, are you sure you want to give this DNA? If you give this DNA, you have the right to not give DNA. If you give DNA, it can and will be used against you. If there is a match in DNA, it will be included in a local or national DNA database, and crimes run against it. She's not denying that she committed the crime that they found that she committed. They're just mad that she got caught using the DNA from the rape kit. She don't feel like that should have been put into a database. Gerald says, you said it wrong. If you are a victim of a crime, we don't want to know that you are a crime committer. All right. So they dropped the charges against, even though they have evidence of her committing the crime. That's some BS. But there's a debate about whether or not this is ethical, about whether or not it's ethical to take someone's DNA from a rape kit, put it into a database, and then run stuff against that database. Because if it weren't for you being a victim of a crime, your DNA theoretically wouldn't be in that database. Here's my question to y'all, just simple yes or no. How many of y'all believe that the government has your DNA in a database? Does the government have your DNA in a database? Yes or no? Do you believe the government has your information in a database? I wholeheartedly believe the government has my DNA in a database, and that any crime that happens, they run it, they run it through that database that my DNA is in. The Politically Petty podcast show says no. Really? I'm so interested into knowing why you don't believe that. Don't we expect law enforcement to use every tool at their disposal to solve crimes on our streets? Sure. But how could you, in 2022, how could you not believe that your DNA is in a database? Yes, because I committed a criminal act. Okay, well, you maybe. But for me, having not committed, or at least being caught for committing an act, then, I've never had to give up my DNA. I have yet to be arrested and have to give a DNA sample, but that's me. You really believe that? Okay, quick question. Have you been tested for the coronavirus at least once? Have you been tested for the coronavirus at least once? Politically Petty podcast show. If you say no, then you believe the government is for Black people. I don't know about that. Yes. So you have given them your DNA. You have given your DNA. Now, are you saying that you've never, you don't believe that they passed that information on to any government agencies? Because I know you probably got tested, being a wealthy guy, at your private physician's office, at CVS, not the police. The police doesn't have to be the ones to collect it in order for them to have it. I would imagine CVS reports whether or not a person has tested positive to the Department of Health. It is not the Department of Health. This is the health department. And I would imagine they send over that sample to the health department. So you probably have DNA on file, and it's probably in a database. See, that's the way my brain look at it. That's the way my brain looks at it. Hold on, somebody. What's this? Have you ever been arrested, E-Man? Yes, I have. They didn't take any DNA when I was arrested. They didn't take any DNA when I was arrested. I've been arrested twice. And they didn't take DNA when I was arrested either time. Some jobs require fingerprinting. Those prints are on file now. All right. Let's see, who is this? Jeannie says, I've never had a coronavirus test. Okay. All right. And you've never done anything where they've tested, where they've drawn blood or swabbed your mouth or your nose or anything of any sort. Karen says, never, never. All right. Daryl says it don't have to be the police department. Right, right. Jason says, so you're saying if I do a DNA test for a child, they should be allowed to enter me into a national crime database. I believe if you do, this is my belief. Now, the debate can be about should they be able to do this, which there is a debate about this. But I believe, yes, Jason, if you do a DNA test to find out if this is your child, they legit, whatever they do, swab your mouth or whatever. That's what they show them doing, Maury. I'm not sure. I've never done it. But when they swab your mouth, I believe they take that and they put it into, I don't want to say it's a crime database. Because in my mind, they're two different things. It's a database of DNA, be it federal or statewide or locally. If Cincinnati has one, then Cincinnati has one. If Hamilton County has one, Hamilton, but it's not, these are people who've committed crimes. It's just, this is DNA that we have on file. So you went, they swabbed your mouth, DNA diagnostics or wherever you went. That's the one they use on Murray. And it's relatively local. I think they're based out of Fairfield. DNA diagnostics or whatever, they send that to the city or to the state. The state says, all right, we got Jason's DNA now. They put it in this huge database of DNA. So now when a crime happens, if something happens in Cincinnati, I feel like they probably say, all right, let's run it through the state's DNA database. The person who killed this person left some hair behind, get the DNA, run it through the database, and now they got you, Jason. You left some hair behind when you killed that person. And they know who you are now because one day you wanted to find out for sure if that was your child. That's the way I believe it works. Now, I believe it works the other way. Like, I believe they get DNA at crime scenes, and then they put that into what I would call the crime database. This is the DNA of a person that we don't know. But this person left some hair behind when they committed this murder. So now it's on file. So then maybe when you go to, get your mouth swabbed to see if that's your baby, they like, all right, we got his DNA. Now let's run that against all of these unsolved crimes. We got all of this stuff in this database over here. Give me that DNA. Run it out against this DNA. And then, we got you, Jason. You killed that man and you left some hair. Well, how do you know that? Because you wanted to see if you were indeed the baby daddy. So I really believe that happens. I really believe that happens. Wealthy guy, now your job shame. How is that shameful? Why do people act like I'm shaming them when I'm really fascinated with them being wealthy? Look, when I get rich, if you want to call me rich, I won't be ashamed about it. I won't be ashamed about it. I'm definitely not shaming you. Definitely not shaming you. These as seen on TV theories are hilarious. Uh, J. Rolls. It's not necessarily as seen on TV theories because I'm looking at a story right now where a woman in 2016 got raped, went to the presumably the hospital, and had her DNA on file. She committed a crime in 2021. They ran her DNA against presumably multiple DNA databases. They got a hit in the victims of crime database. This is not as seen on TV. Like, why do y'all think this stuff is some fantastical stuff that's not happening? I just told you a story about it happening right now. It's not something that I'm making up. It's not just something that you see on TV. It's something that is actually happening. It's actually happening. You rich in that big ass studio you in. Karen says, I worked for a hospital for over 10 years, so I know they have some sort of DNA at some point. But the test was too invasive. All right. I was hooked on paternity court with Judge Lauren Lake. I had to show my sons how scandalous some of these young girls can be. Paternity court with Judge Lauren Lake. Can I just say this? I know this is a bit of a detour, but only because he brought it up. Lauren Lake is a really nice lady. She is a really nice lady. Like what you see on TV in paternity court, my experience is that's legit her. Like she not pretending to be that way. That's who she is. I mean, I only know this because I mean, my dealing with her was, what was it, 2 weeks? It was either a 1 week or 2 weeks. She actually filled in 1 week or 2 weeks. I don't remember which it was for Lincoln Ware on the Lincoln Ware show. And she was one of the nicest ladies. She, all of that, I don't even know how to describe it. The way that she talks on paternity court is the way that she talks, well, the way that she talked on air, and it's the way that she talked off air. We would have conversations off air before the show, after the show. She was nice and she talked like that. So yeah, I'm so glad for her success. I'm happy for her success. But that was an aside. She is not being held accountable for the crime she committed. This is America. Why would you expect otherwise? All right. This is Nat. The federal DNA database serves the greater forensic community by adding investigation through hit confirmations against individuals whose profiles are in the National DNA Index System. All right. For someone who believed that I was making it up and it was a as seen on TV theory. Y'all really don't know that this stuff happens? Like y'all really don't know that they take your DNA and put it in a database? Y'all really believe that? I mean, I guess it's possible. Hey, LaDonna. I guess it's possible. All right, welcome back, TC. That people don't know. The spin that you are placing from the story are fictitious tales. So my doctor turns over my DNA to the government without my permission. You don't think that happens, really? And you now look, you might have a argument. So what you're saying then, J. Rose, is you went to a private doctor, your own private doctor, which is kind of what I perceive the Politically Petty podcast show to be saying. Like, yeah, I got tested for coronavirus, but I went to my private doctor. I went to Dr. Thomas. Just made up a name. I went to Dr. Thomas, and now Dr. Thomas did the test for me. And Dr. Thomas said that I was not positive. So Dr. Thomas, my private physician, wouldn't then turn over my information to any government organization. I'm like, okay, cool, cool. So J. Rose, if you're saying I went to my private doctor and took my potential child to my private doctor, and my private doctor administered a DNA test and didn't send it out to any outside organization. He has his own DNA lab in his office. My private doctor has his own DNA lab in his office. And so he told me I was indeed the father, or that I was not the father. Then maybe you're right. But what I would suggest, J. Rose, is even if you went to your private physician and he did your DNA test, unless he has his own DNA lab in his office, he sent it to somebody. He sent it to somebody along with information to describe who you are, your name, your date of birth, maybe your social security number. I would imagine they have all of that stuff on file. He sent it there just so that it wouldn't be mixed up with any other DNA. And then they ran the test, and then they sent him back the results. And when they sent him the results, it's possible that they sent those results to a state or federal DNA lab or some sort of thing. I don't know exactly how they do that stuff, but they do. So all of y'all thinking like, no, it was my private doctor. Come on. Come on. Lauren Lake used to sing Back Up for Diddy and etc. Yes. They keep the whole afterbirth unless you ask for it. Brent over here with us. Did you go to Facebook jail too? No, Gerald. Something's not happening right with the live stream and Facebook. So the people who would normally be watching on Facebook, because thank you, they support me. They decided to come over to YouTube because Facebook is not working. I love George Lawrence Lake Paternity Court. Did she, TC? I didn't know that. Yeah, she used to sing Backup. You tried to hit. No, I didn't try to hit. She was married. Her husband at the time, I mean, I don't know if she's still married to him. I assume they are. But her husband at the time was a coach for the Cincinnati Bengals, which presumably was why she was in Cincinnati. Her husband was one of the assistant coaches for the Cincinnati Bengals. So, no, I didn't try to hit. She was married. And that's that. They don't know. Don't nobody care that you think you know everything. J. Rose does not believe that it's possible that his DNA is in a database. Although J. Rose, can I ask you one quick question? Were you the father? Were you the father? Just curious. Were you the father? Crystal says hello to everyone. He says that would be a violation of HIPAA laws. I'm not sure. I would have to read the HIPAA laws, but I would imagine that there is some provision. Now, again, I could be 100% totally wrong. I would imagine that there is some provision to where that stuff can be shared with law enforcement. Now, I would imagine that. But okay, let's assume you're right, and that would be a violation of HIPAA laws. And and you really think they care about violating the law? You really think the FBI or the police department cares about violating HIPAA law? If you really believe that, I don't know. Um, why is your hypothetical just related to a paternity or maternity DNA test? Because you brought up a paternity test. Had you not brought up a paternity test, I would have not talked about a paternity test. I was actually more talking about a rape case, but then you brought up paternity testing. And if you went in and you got a paternity test, they scraped your jaw or whatever for DNA. What you're saying is not legal. Could it happen? I guess. Hold on. Y'all really believe this is y'all got me bugging out. Y'all really believe that law enforcement cares about not violating the law? That's what y'all really feel like? Genuinely? Seriously? That's what we thinking now? Police won't violate the law. What's going to happen if they do? What's going to happen if they do? J. Rose says, thank you to Nat Turner. Brent says, I bet folks did not read the disclosure forms before they got their checks, before they got their cheeks swabbed for paternity. Not when it comes to getting a man. Yeah, they don't care about like and to Brent's, if you don't read everything, I I'll be honest, I don't know how many times I've gotten tested for the coronavirus. I didn't read because it's a big long paragraph or three. I didn't read that before initialing and saying, okay, go ahead and do the test. I don't know what it said in there or, about me giving permission. I would imagine it said that I give permission for these results to go to the state health department or the county health department. And then once I give permission for it to go to the health department, then who's to stop them from giving it to somebody else? I gave them my permission. Like, but man, y'all some trusting people. Y'all some trusting people. True, the sharing of medical information, i.e., DNA, without a court order or permission is a criminal act, and I'm suing everyone. It's not necessarily you're. I don't believe that to be true. I don't believe that to be true, J. Rose. I don't think that's true. I don't think it is a criminal act. Jason says, I brought that up. Okay, well, somebody brought it up. Somebody brought it up. Somebody brought it up. J. Rose says, that wasn't me, sir. I didn't bring up a paternity test. Okay, so Jason brought it up, and that's why I started talking about paternity. So either way, that answers your question. Somebody brought up paternity. That's how Stefan ended up signing away his Duke utility bill. He didn't read the fine print. I mean, I'm just saying. Oh my goodness, I'm pulling this thing here. All right, sorry about that. Look, I don't know how, but the idea that y'all so trusting of law enforcement to just follow the law is really weird to me. Maybe I'm the problem. I don't necessarily look at law enforcement and say, oh, they're going to follow all the laws. I look at law enforcement and say, hey, they're going to do what law enforcement do, which is whatever they want. Oh my goodness, something is going on. Oh, also, did y'all see this story where India accidentally fired a missile into Pakistan? Did anybody else see this story? And it's the goofiest story. India says, hold on, I gotta pull it up because if I say it from memory, y'all gonna think I'm making it up. Y'all gonna think I'm making it up if y'all haven't already seen this story. If I just say it from memory, y'all gonna say, you just making stuff up. You don't have all the information. India said that it accidentally fired a missile into Pakistan because of a technical malfunction. During routine maintenance, uh, something happened and it ended up with them accidentally firing a missile. They said it is learned that the missile landed in an area of Pakistan, and while the incident is deeply regrettable, it's also a matter of relief that there was no loss of life due to the accident. Um, Pakistani officials said the missile was unarmed and crashed near the country's eastern city of something I can't pronounce. Of course, Pakistan warned India to be mindful of the unpleasant consequences of such negligence and take effective measures to avoid recurrence of such violations in the future. Um, I read in one report, and it's not here. I got to find the report that I read, but that somebody was, like they say, doing some routine maintenance and accidentally fired a missile. Accidentally fired a missile. How does that happen? They not over there just firing missiles at each other. Like somebody was cleaning something up or doing something and like accidentally hit the button or hit the switch and boom, the missile happened. Flew into Pakistan. How irresponsible is that? Like these are both nuclear powers. These are both nuclear powers. The, oops. And they didn't even like shout them out when it happened. Like, because I imagine, you know what I'm saying? Again, this is just me imagining. I'm not in Pakistan or India, but I imagine they have the ability to communicate with one another. So you say, what? You in there cleaning up and you hit the button. It's a missile on the way. You get on the phone and you say, hey, it's a missile on the way. It was an accident. We didn't mean to shoot a missile. Raekwon was over there. He was cleaning. He hit the wrong button. His elbow bumped something, and a missile is coming your way. Don't look like it's gonna hit populated area, and it's not armed. But just so y'all know it's coming. They didn't even do that. They didn't even do that. They waited. The missile landed, and then later on, they was like, hey, we accidentally shot a missile y'all way. Exactly. Oops. My bad. I didn't mean to shoot a missile at you. It was an accident. Like, oh my goodness. You shot a whole missile. You shot a whole missile at somebody. Joe says, that's not how a missile will engage. It takes more than hitting a button. I mean, I don't know that somebody's elbow bumped the switch. But the point is, they said that there was some routine maintenance going on. And that is how the missile was accidentally fired. Um, I would like to agree it takes more than hitting a button to fire a missile, but I would imagine that you shouldn't be able to accidentally fire a missile. You would think that you would have to be really intentional. You know what I'm saying? Like, I could see you accidentally firing a gun if you're not, but I mean, even like if the gun got a safety on it and the safety is on, you know what I'm saying? You got to pick up the gun, maybe. You got to squeeze. Oh, you got to take off the safety. You got to then pull the trigger, drop it, something. We talking about firing a missile. A missile. I would love to think that you would have to be very intentional when it comes to firing a missile, that you couldn't accidentally fire a missile, Joe. But according to India, they accidentally fired a missile at Pakistan. And y'all know they got a history there. They got a history. Again, they're both nuclear powers. And basically, this is like horribly oversimplifying, but basically, they both nuclear powers because they got beef with one another. So they got nukes just in case they got to F each other up. And then to accidentally, Joe, me and you got beef. We done had beef for a long time. We done fought. We done shot at each other. We done did all kind of stuff. And then one day you minding your own business, walking down the street, and I accidentally shoot at you. Come on, that don't even seem reasonable. That don't seem reasonable. But they say India said that they accidentally fired a missile. A Pakistan Air Force official said the object, flying at 40,000 feet and 3 times the speed of sound, had flown 77 miles into Pakistani airspace. It gives me great hope that the 2 nuclear weapon states dealt with the missile incident in a mature manner. This is from Happyman Jacob, a professional of international studies at New Delhi's some university there. I don't want to jack up none of these names. He says New Delhi should offer to pay compensation for the pack house that was destroyed. But they said that they fired a missile. Now, in terms of the statement, the way that India said, oops, my bad. We shot a missile at y'all. Sorry, some routine maintenance. A missile got away from us. One senior Pakistani security official told Reuters, on the condition of anonymity, that the incident had raised alarm and could have escalated into a critical, untoward situation. They said the admission that it was a missile was very nonchalant. What does this say about their safety mechanisms and the technical prowess of very dangerous weapons? The international community needs to have a very close look at this. They accidentally fired a missile. And again, I would think that couldn't happen, but it happened. And now I got to talk about this for just a moment. I got about 20 something minutes left. And again, forgive the glitching. I'll work on it today. Hopefully hopefully this stuff won't be happening tomorrow. And hopefully I'll be back on Facebook tomorrow. But It's not me. I'm not doing it intentionally. All right. I'm not doing it intentionally. And, hopefully I'll get it fixed. What about this don't say gay bill? What about this don't say gay bill in Florida? The bill, again, I don't have the full text of the bill. But the idea being schools cannot teach about homosexuality for kids pre-K through 3, pre-K through the 3rd grade. They cannot teach about homosexuality. And it's a Republican bill. And then I believe even after that, they're not supposed to be, teaching about being gay. And there are people who are against it. And I'll be honest, it gives me pause when I'm on the same side of a bill as Republicans. Because I think, again, the Republicans is a hate group. But every once in a while, they might be right for the wrong reason. But I think I agree. Like, if you're against the idea that you shouldn't teach pre-K through 3rd grade students about homosexuality, that means you're for teaching pre-K through 3rd grade students about homosexuality. That means that little baby, my granddaughter, should be able to go to school and hear about gayness? That's not the best wording. Have the teacher teach them this is what homosexuality is. When a boy likes another boy or a girl likes another girl. Why? Why do I need that taught to my pre-K through 3rd grader? If you're like, oh no, that is so homophobic, that is so hateful, that is so this. Again, the other option, what you are lobbying for is the right of teachers to teach kindergartners what gay is. Somebody explain to me why that's necessary. Somebody help me understand. Like, look, again, I know it comes from a place of hate. I believe it's Republicans, so it comes from a place of hate. And I hate that I agree with them, even though we probably agree for different reasons. I just don't think it's appropriate to be teaching little kids. Like, I don't want you to teach little kids, kindergartners, 1st, 2nd, 3rd graders about sexual relations at all. They're kindergartners, 1st and 2nd graders. They don't need to be learning that from you. Not now. So I'm against that, period. But not because I hate homosexuals. Because I don't hate homosexuals. Some of my best friends are homosexuals. I've had homosexuals over my house for dinner. So it's not that I hate homosexuals. I just don't necessarily believe that should be taught. There are same-sex couples with kids. Well, congratulations to them. What's that? Help me understand what that had to do with what I'm saying. I mean, I'm certain that you're saying that for a reason. I just don't understand what the reason is. I just don't understand what the reason is. Let the kids be kids. And kids know kid stuff. I am for, at least, again, I have to read like the whole bill. I had to read the whole bill. But I'm kind of in favor of not teaching little kids about homosexuality. Even to a certain degree, kind of avoiding the subject. I was watching on one of the shows. I can't remember what it was. It was a teacher of little. I thought he said he was a kindergarten teacher, but he might have been anywhere kindergarten through third grade. He's a teacher, and he says his school encourages him to talk about family. They encourage people to bring in pictures of their family and show people, but because he's gay, this bill will stop him from being able to bring in pictures of his partner. Now, look, maybe back in the day, he might have had a little bit of an argument. He might have had a little bit of an argument, but not necessarily now. If he was saying my husband, my spouse, I might listen to the argument a little more. Because you can get married now. You can get married now. But I'm pretty sure the school would frown if I'm a teacher and, you know, I'm teaching my kids about my jump off. Yeah, this chick that I met last week and, I hit. I'm pretty sure they would frown on that. If I want to talk about, my family, bring in a picture of me and my family, maybe. But yeah, this the chick I live with. I don't know. They might frown on that. They might frown about that. So get married and then make the case. Get married and then make the case. Hold on. Everybody else get to bring in pictures of their spouses. Why don't I get to bring in a picture of my spouse? But again, you want to just, I hate to say it, but I want to rub it in their face that I'm gay. Why don't they get to see my boyfriend? Because that's not what we're doing. That's not what if what he said is true and the school is promoting, bring in pictures of your spouse. You don't get to bring in a picture of your boyfriend. It's not the same. It's not the same. I'm not for it, but in a few years, Republican states and schools will only teach about white and how it's right. Okay, Jason, I'm not 100% against what you're saying. And that's what I don't like agreeing with any principle that the Republicans put out there. But if I agree, I agree. And on this, again, we agree for different reasons. I'm not agreeing because I think gay people are horrible people and they're an infestation, which is what I believe the sponsor of the bill actually referred to it. This is an infestation. I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that. Now, again, I'm not necessarily pro homosexuality, but I'm not anti either. That's you. That's you. You got to make up your mind what's going to be right for you. You got to live with your decisions, so on and so forth. It's not my decision to make, so I'm not here to, as they say, judge you. I mean, I'll judge you from my perspective, what I believe to be right, but not judge you like, oh, you going to hell or you're evil or you're whatever. All right. So I don't agree for the reasons that the Republican Party is putting it out there. And they're not putting it out there because they care about the kids. They're putting it out there because they're hateful people. But I agree just because of the kids. I agree just because of the kids. I don't want you teaching pre-K through third graders how to do it. You know what I'm saying? It's just no, but that's natural. It's just no, no. Just some stuff I don't need you to teach them. They not even in the fourth grade. You don't teach them how to do it. You know what I'm saying? It's just I'm talking good old fashioned heterosexual mating. I don't need you teaching pre-K through third grade that. So it's not anti-homosexual, it's anti-exposing these kids to stuff before they need to be exposed to it. But what if they're already exposed to it at home? Then they're exposed to it at home. And that's where that's the parent's responsibility. But I don't need some teacher to take it upon him or herself to expose my child to something that I'm not ready for them to be exposed to yet. And there is a provision in the law. There's a provision in the law that says if you as a parent believe that your child has been taught this stuff at school, you can sue. And I think I like that. I think I like that. Now, I don't know if I love it. I don't know if I love it, but I think I like it. Right, right. I'm sorry, Mrs. HB, and then some letters. Right. If that little baby come over and I say, "What did you learn in school today?" And she says really loudly, "My teacher told me that she is a lesbian and she showed me a picture of her wife." What? She did what? Yeah, my teacher is a girl and she is married to a girl and she said they lesbians. Oh, whoa. Why is your teacher even talking about this? Why is your teacher talking about this? What in the world? And you're against that being a law that the teacher shouldn't be telling a 4, 5, 6, or 7-year-old about their homosexuality life? Okay, that's again horrible wording, but you know what I'm saying. And you imagine a 5-year-old coming home and telling you that. At the very least, I want to go up there and say, "What are you doing?" I was going to cuss because I would cuss. I would cuss. But what are you doing? Yeah, no, I'm against it. I'm against the teaching of young kids about homosexuality or, you know, even heterosexuality for that matter. I don't know that it's your role or it's your place. Let me expose my child to what they need to be exposed to. Um, what is going on with the Matrix? Again, I'm experiencing apparently, I mean, technically, it's not me. I would say this service is experiencing some technical difficulties because I've done everything that I normally do the way that I normally do it, and I've even gone over and above to do some things. The glitching that you see is not me, but I do apologize for it, and I'll work on making sure that it's fixed, and hopefully that won't be the case next time. Um, why does your impression of the little baby sound like the little white girl in the Homie the Clown sketches? I don't know. Um, but she's loud. When she talks really loud. Um, Kids can pick up on a lot of things without being exposed. Uh, this is too much. Um, I respect vampires because you at least know they're trying to suck your blood. That's a Lewisism. What did Lewis say? Um, I respect Republicans because they are honest about their hatred for black people. I don't respect Democrats because they hate us equally but will never tell the truth. um, I knew which teacher was an alcoholic, gay, and being beat up at home. Well, damn. What did you go to school? What the hell? What? I didn't know any of that stuff. I didn't care enough to pay attention when I was in the second grade to know which one of my teachers was an alcoholic. So, Diane, in the second grade, which one of your second grade teachers was an alcoholic? Which one was getting beat up at home? And which one was gay? In the second grade. We're not talking about junior high and high school. What we used to call intermediate, because 4, 5, and 6 was the intermediate school. We talking about, right, Diane? This you talking about in middle school, right? This is for pre-K through third grade. Pre-K through the third grade. Diane went to school at the Justice Center. No, see, she cleared it up. She was talking about middle school. Oh, she knew which one of her teachers was an alcoholic. I said she went to East. Oh, she knew who was the alcoholic. She knew who was gay, and she knew who was getting beat up at home. Wow. Wow. Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. Okay, no, there it is. So that's Lewis' justification for being a Republican sellout. I know they hate me already. Help it make sense. I can't make that make sense. I think what he's saying is, and I hear a lot of people say that. I hear a lot of people say, "Oh, I would rather be around somebody who I know hate me than somebody who I don't know hate me and they secretly hate me." I don't. To me, that don't make sense. Look, I don't care how you feel about me. Just treat me right, right? Treat me right. So if you are bold enough to come out and say, "I hate ends," I don't get the feeling that you're gonna treat me right. And even if you are treating me right, I'm not gonna feel like you treating me right. I know that don't seem like it make a lot of sense, but even if you are, if you've told me you hate ends and I come in and you treating me a certain way, I'm gonna be like, he hate ends. You know what I'm saying? He perceives me as an end and he don't like me. He's just doing this to get my money, or he's just doing this to whatever. Now, if I don't know and you treat me right, and you treated me right. I've never been one of those, call me an end to my face and then we can get along. What? No. You call me an end to my face, we definitely can't get along. Were they calling you an end behind your back? I don't know if they are or if they not. But it's something about a person that's bold enough to call me an end to my face. Mm-mm. Mm-mm. I can't get with that. If they secretly hate you, is it really a secret? It could be. It could be. Some people put on airs. Some people put on airs. So, that happens. That happens. What's on the news in the back? That Chinese guy talking about something. I want to hear it. They are doing some editing. They've been editing that video for a while. So, just let them do what they do. Just let them do what they do. Let them do what they do. They know what they're doing in the back. Livingston, why do people lie? Please tell me, when have I ever said I voted Republican? I vote Democrat just like you and the people that listen to the station. I don't know what station you're talking about. I'm not on a station now. No, I know what station you're talking about. Well, but you say stuff, Gerald, that leads one to believe that you might lean a little more that way. I understand you didn't actually say it, but you do say things that would lead people to believe that you lean a certain way. So you gotta understand that. When you're constantly, you say you don't, but trust me, from reading it, I see a lot of black people bashing. And I know you're gonna say, well, how can you say I bash black people when I say that, your show is, I like your show? Well, it's because you like this show don't mean you don't bash black people. You often talk about how black people hate black people, which sounds like you're talking about you. You talk about how bad black people are, how there's a number of things that you say that I'm just saying. Why, instead of answering the question, do they think I voted for Republicans when I clearly said they are just as racist as Democrats? Why would I vote for them? If you believe, if your premise is Republicans are just as racist as Democrats, that sounds like you're like, hey, Democrats are racist. So why would I believe that you would vote for them? And if you say you respect Republicans because they let you know they're racist, but Democrats don't, that sounds to me like you're saying, look, I believe this person hate black people. I believe this person hate black people. But I respect this person more because they let it be known that they hate black people. And one would believe that you would vote for the one that you respect more if you believe they both hate black people the same, and that factors into who you vote for. Do that make sense? Not does the logic make sense, but does your understanding of why people would be confused about who you support? Person one and person two hates black people, but I respect person one because they say they hate black people. Unlike person two, one would think, I'm going to vote for person one. I'm going to vote for the people who I respect. That makes sense. It makes sense why people would be confused about, who you actually vote for. But why do you ignore when I clearly have said I always voted Democrat all my life? I just respect the fact that Republicans are honest and being real about being racist, unlike the Democrats. Because people say stuff all the time that ain't true. People say stuff all the time that ain't true. So you can say that you always voted. You know how many people come on and say they believe one thing when they actually don't. And as the conversation goes on, it becomes clear. Like white people who used to call into the show and say, hey, I'm the least racist white guy you ever want to meet. Some of my best friends are black, but our black people so darn violent. Like, wait a minute, but you just clearly said that you this and you that. But then as you talk, all you can talk about is negativity towards black people. And I'm supposed to believe because you said you're the least racist white person, I'm supposed to ignore all the other stuff, all the other context clues that lead me to believe that you're one of the most racist white people. That's kind of the idea with what you're saying. I said I vote for Democrats. Right. You did say that. But then the more we listen to you, you talk about how you respect Republicans, how Democrats are racist, and how Democrats don't care about black people, and how Democrats don't do nothing, and how at least Republicans stand up for their people, and how you don't like this about Democrats, but at least Republicans this. And you don't care about Democrats, but you care about, Republicans care about it all leads one to believe he said he vote Democrat, but I listened to what he say, and it sure sounds like the ramblings of a guy who would vote Republican. So that's why. That's why. Black Republicans are the same way, E-Man. They live talking down about black people for their white Republican Party friends. Somebody says, wait a minute. Lewis/Gerald, you tried to bash me for voting for Democrats, but your ignorant tail vote for Democrats too. See what I'm saying? If you telling people, well, you always vote for Democrats, but then you're like, well, I vote for Democrats. They don't go together. They don't go together. And that's why it seems that way. Is this the same Lewis from Facebook? Yeah, it's him. So explain to me, please, with your intelligent self. Thank you. I appreciate it. It's not, people don't always recognize my elevated level of intelligence. And when someone does, I just like to let them know it's greatly appreciated. So please explain to me with your intelligent self, why would a Republican support Judge Tracy Hunter? Please tell me this, Livingston. I don't know that you support Judge Tracy Hunter. I know you say that you support Judge Tracy Hunter, but I don't know that you do. I don't know that you do. Actually, it kind of seems to me like when you talk about your support for Judge Tracy Hunter, it's not actually support for Tracy Hunter. And I'm not saying this is the case, because I know you well enough to say that this is the case, but it feels like when you say, I support Judge Tracy Hunter, it's really a way to insulate yourself from criticism as you bash black people because Judge Tracy Hunter was found guilty. Do that make any sense? Let me see. I support Judge Tracy Hunter, which in your mind means, well, they're going to look at me and say, I support black people. So now I can freely bash black people because I support Judge Tracy Hunter. So that's what I'm saying. You say you support Judge Tracy Hunter, but it sure feel like almost every time you bring up your support for Judge Tracy Hunter, it's like a prelude to you bashing some black people. I feel like you using that as a way to bash black people, not necessarily as support for Judge Tracy Hunter. But that's just what it feels like. I can't say with 100% certainty that's what it is. Will someone please be his friend? If you do, I will commit to hanging out with Rick Jr. All right. Hey y'all, I got to get ready to get out of here. It's 3:00. But Lewis, look, I appreciate you, man. I do. I'm just trying to help you understand how people could. I take you at your word. You say you support Judge Tracy Hunter. I accept that you support Judge Tracy Hunter. You say you vote Democratic. I accept that you vote Democratic. All the stuff you say, I take you at your word, in spite of some of the other things that you say. But it is easy to understand why some people might not, because some of the things that you say would reasonably and easily lead someone to believe that you don't actually believe the stuff that you say. So maybe if you pay more attention not just to the pronouncements. Like, I vote Democratic. That's a pronouncement. But pay attention when you speak and think about this. Does the stuff that you say, the things that you say, does it lend itself to someone who votes Democrat, or does it lend itself to someone who votes Republican? Does it lend itself to someone who supports Judge Tracy Hunter, or does it lend itself to someone who just looks for an excuse to bash Black people? If you pay attention to the things that you say, you pay attention to the things that you say. Again, I take you at face value. You say you support her, I believe it. You say you vote Democrat, I believe it. You say you love Black people, I believe you. But you do have to think about the fact that the things that you say lead people to make judgments about what you actually do and not necessarily what you pronounce that you do. All right. Sometimes I wonder, how can I fully bash Black people when I am the one, because only one person said it, who said she was wrongly incarcerated? This is where Democrats fail. We hate the people that support us. You really don't. If you just analyze that statement, and then you might understand why people don't believe the things that you say you believe. You are the one. So there's only one person who has said that she was wrongly incarcerated, and you are that one person. It's not true. It's not true. You are not the one. But putting yourself in place to be the one seems like you're like, hey, if I position myself as the only person who supported Judge Tracy Hunter, then I can use that, my sole support of Judge Tracy Hunter, to say anything I want, and I can still hide under that umbrella. And then you go into where Democrats fail. What's where Democrats fail? What? Because people don't believe you, so that's somehow a failure of Democrats? That's all I'm saying. Just pay attention to what you say and how that's what it lends to. That's what it lends to. Oh, it's wow. It's wild. But all right, I got to get out of here. I appreciate y'all finding me and hanging out with me for a few hours. Again, I apologize for the technical difficulty, and I will go and hopefully figure out what's going on with Facebook, and I'll be on both platforms tomorrow, if at all possible, or on actually all of the platforms, if at all possible. But I appreciate y'all, every one of y'all, especially, going through, because I know most of y'all check me out on Facebook. So I appreciate every one of y'all who support me and who go out of your way to find me. I appreciate that. Got to get out of here. Until next time, it's been the afternoon experience. I'm Emanuel Livingston. I'm out, y'all. Peace.